I'm going to talk to a kid now that just lost in a world title fight last year, and the reason why we're going to speak to him is that Brandon Rios is fighting for the WBA lightweight title at the weekend against Richard Abril. He's meant to be fighting the Cuban Gamboa, but Lord knows what happened there. It turned ugly, and Abril gate crashed the press conference. Anyway, 2 press conferences later, or 3 press conferences later, Gamboa, the brilliant Cuban, still hadn't shown, and lo and behold, bish bosh and bang, it was Abril in the ring with Rios, and you're going to see that on 2 o'clock in the morning on Sunday, and it will be a bit special. And I'm delighted to welcome to the show John Murray. John, how are you?
Hi Steve, yeah, well thanks mate.
Yeah, John, Rios and Abril, are you surprised at the way it's come about? Because, you know, it was meant to be Gamboa and suddenly it ends up being Abril.
Yeah, obviously, you know, that's the way it's worked out, but, you know, Rios, I think, you know, he's in that position where he can fight anyone in the division.
Now, John, what stage are you at now, mate? Are you looking for dates at the moment? How does it work with you? Where are you at the moment?
Yeah, I'm back in training. I'm just getting myself into shape, and I'll have to speak with Frank after, and we'll arrange when I'll be next out. I mean, obviously, the British division at lightweight at the minute is red hot with Mitchell and Burns and
Crawler.
You know, obviously, I'd like to get in the mix again with them too. I think. You know, it'd be great fights for me and Kevin had a great fight last year, and I think, you know, obviously I'd like to do it again at some point. And obviously Ricky Burns there is a world champion, and that's what I'm chasing. And yeah, you know, I think I put a decent performance against Rios, although I lost, and they proved, you know, I was worthy at that level, and you know, I'd like to get back in the mix.
Yeah, Frank's saying that you are in the mix. There's no 2 ways about that. So it's just a case of getting back. John, have you actually looked back on that Rios fight and you know, actually sat down and watched it and looked at perhaps what went wrong? Not saying you did anything wrong, but maybe at what went wrong.
Yeah, I sat down and watched it a few times now, and you know, obviously I was getting caught with shots up the middle, and I think, you know, obviously I paid the price for taking so many shots throughout the fight. I mean, when I was in there with him, I felt just as strong as him, and you know, I thought my shots was good, and the shot selection was good as well. And I just thought that in the end, I think what told in the fight was the fact that I was caught up the middle so clean so many times, whereas Rios perhaps had a better defence, and that's why obviously he went on to win that fight.
Now, I know that you're desperate to get. I know that you and Kevin are friends, Mitchell are friends, but I know you're desperate to get back in that. You know, get to Mitchell. But you must have been watching in amazement Ricky Burns over the last 6 or 7 months, John.
Yeah, I think, you know, he's definitely one of the most improved fighters in Britain. You know, he's come a long way. I think all the way through his career, I think he's been one of them fighters that's willing to fight anyone anywhere, and he's got to the stage now where he's a world champion, and he can pick his opponents a little bit, and he has been avoided in the past, but now he's a champion. He's the one with the big bullseye on his back, and everyone wants a piece of Ricky Burns. But yeah, like I say, he's done really well to get where he is, and he's doing really well, and he has really improved. But you know, I think that's another great fight. I mean, if he can get a couple of wins under the belt, and maybe he'd give me a shot.
Listen, I'm sure he will, John. He talks highly of you. John Murray, thanks very much for your time tonight. Thanks, John.
Thanks mate. Bye.